Couples therapists. Without breaking confidentiality, what are some relationships that instantly set off red flags? And do you try and get them to work it out? Story 1. I saw a couple that was doing retaliatory cheating and telling each other about it. When they got through their anger, they decided to call a truce and made peace. With their level of emotional maturity, I doubt it lasted. I don't know if I helped them or prolonged their suffering. It was their decision to come to counseling, so I think it was the help they wanted. Other clients realized what they want is divorce counseling. What's the best way to behave civilly and minimize damage to the kids while we go our separate ways? We now have a Discord. Check out the server in the link in the description. Story 2. I'm not a couples therapist, but I recommended a couples therapist to a coworker for some premarital counseling. My partner and I had really enjoyed our premarital sessions from this super nice therapist, and when a girl from my work got engaged, she asked for his number. The day after their first session, I got a call from the girl saying, "I can't believe you sent me to this horrible, invasive, rude counselor." I was in a panic. "Oh no, what happened?" She explained. "We went in there and sat down, and the first thing he asked was, 'So, why do you want to get married?' How rude is that? How dare he?" That's when I realized that maybe their relationship wasn't going to pan out. They called off the wedding a few months later. Sounds like to me they got their money's worth. They figured out right away that they couldn't answer that question. Story 3. A few of them. Couples in a tit-for-tat arrangement. For example, "I cheated so you can have one night to cheat with whomever." Or, "I violated your trust and did drugs, so you can go out and do whatever for one night too." It erodes trust and compounds the hurt. 2. An affair that won't end. I've never seen a relationship bounce back where a partner is still in contact with their boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't mean an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, I mean the person X is having the affair with, or is lying about it. 3. Control to an excessive amount. I most commonly see partners having to send pictures holding up a certain number of fingers or proving that it's a live picture. This is abuse. 4. Overbearing parents and in-laws. I understand there's a ton of cultural nuance here, and I work with couples who have arranged marriages, as well as the South Asian community. However, when a spouse is more allied with their parents and calls them on speakerphone for fights, or often speaks ill of their partner to their parents, I usually see these couples stay very unhappily married for years. It's sad. If it's not abuse and a partner is willing to end an affair and genuinely work on it, I'll help support. I think couples therapy is sometimes helping couples have the courage to voice what they really want, and sometimes that may be separation. Story 4. Child and family therapist here. Not exactly couples therapy, but there are key family dynamics that set off red flags for interpersonal relationships within a family. Whether it is between parents and kids, or simply kids. The most important piece comes from invalidation. This comes in many forms, from gaslighting to just simple denial of another's opinion. Most of the time, one or both parties are simply trying to be heard on an emotional level, with an event or topic that was brought up, but the other party takes this as a personal attack on their ideals. We've all heard of or know people who will literally disagree with anything you say simply because you said it. That's the invalidation I'm referring to. Cliché moral of the story: attack the problem, not each other. People rarely have the exact same stance in a conflict, but usually in healthy relationships have very similar core values. While two parents may disagree on how to parent a child, authoritarian versus authoritative for example, the core value of caring about their children and wanting them to succeed is often the same. By determining they are within the same realm of issues, two parents with different ideals can see themselves as allies in a conflict rather than enemies. Two things that people believe are red flags of poor relationships are the amount of conflicts the couple has and yelling. Neither is inherently a characteristic of good or bad relationships, but may be perceived as more common in bad ones. The reality of this situation is that healthy relationships actually have a comparable amount of conflicts, but more intensely focus on addressing the core issue rather than the beliefs and the self-worth of the other. As for yelling, in this case it's an emotional response to not feeling heard. While not the best response to distress, it also isn't an indicator of poor communication skills. What is an indicator of poor communication is yelling over the other person in an attempt to invalidate their point. Semi-related example. I had two people who were seemingly incredibly upset at each other. Parent A felt that Parent B was out of the house too frequently and did not want to be a part of their children's life. Parent B felt that Parent A didn't understand how busy their work schedule was. The fight revolved around Parent B seemingly not caring about the kids until Parent B explained they felt Parent A was better at parenting and felt like they were only escalating the children when they started to parent. Parent A's understanding of the argument quickly changed from "you don't love our children" to "you're scared to let our children down." As you can guess, the tone of the conversation changed, and there was no longer a sense that Parent A and B were on opposing sides. The issue instead became helping build confidence in Parent B's parenting ability. which parent A was much more validating and supportive of. Not all cases are this clean-cut by any means, but I figure I'd demonstrate the basic idea of finding core values and attacking an issue together. Whoa, I feel like I just got a free counseling session myself. Like, yeah, I think we've all heard the whole attack the issue, not the problem thing, but the idea of reframing conflicts so that the two parties are on the same side, that's huge. Maybe just because I used to be in psych and wanted to become a therapist, I find this so interesting, so maybe I'm boring you all, but to me this is fascinating. Story 5. Relationship therapist here. One of the biggest red flags I see when working with a new couple is when they've totally forgotten the good part of relationship therapy is reconnecting a couple with what they like about each other, like what initially attracted them to each other and what the positives are between them. When people come in and they've been so unhappy for so long that they can't actually remember what it was like to be in love or to even like each other, they're just about hopeless. You don't have to be happy for therapy to work, but if you can't even reminisce about the good times, then the good times are probably over. Story 6. Whataboutism. Instead of taking ownership and responsibility for their contribution to the degradation of the relationship, one or both parties simply point out an example of the other exhibiting a similar behavior. It's a red flag because it illustrates their lack of self-awareness and poor communication skills. Communication is key when trying to mend a tattered relationship, because without respectful communication, in the conflict recovery model, both parties agree to the terms under which they will communicate. No yelling, no interrupting, no I told you so's, etc. Each party gets a chance to share how the other's actions make them feel. Then they each propose their solutions and identify where they made assumptions, or where they got triggered and why. Then they identify where they're willing to compromise. Next, we create an actionable plan with deadlines and we monitor the progress to see if the proposed solutions were effective. IMO, everything can go to crap, but once communication stagnates, you're in real trouble. So even if you're arguing, you're still doing okay. You just need to work on how you're communicating. Story 7. My grand aunt was a couples therapist for many, many years. Now she volunteers at her church counseling couples. She's my relationship sage. Number of red flags she's told me about. 1. Spouses who don't sleep together without a justifiable reason. As in not due to work conflicts or medical reasons, but because one spouse just doesn't feel like going to bed alongside the other. Lack of intimacy, both frisky and non-frisky, will lead to the two drifting apart. 2. When one spouse has a close relationship with a member of the opposite sex who doesn't like the other spouse. The old, he or she's just a friend. If it doesn't lead to cheating, it will still usually cause unneeded strain that will break apart the relationship. 3. One that initially surprised me. We're staying together for the kids. It leads to an unhealthy mindset where the couple sees the children as a burden, and believe that by remaining in an unhealthy relationship, it will somehow make the kids turn out alright. Kids are smarter than you think, and if mom and dad don't love each other, they'll pick up on it. If the kids are really the priority, either learn to fix the relationship or end it. 4. In premarital counseling, when the couple states that they're saving themselves for their wedding night, and then one or both confides privately that they're not a virgin and the other has no idea. In broader terms, when a couple isn't honest with each other about their intimate history. So many reasons that's unhealthy. I can't even begin to list them all. But the biggest is that honesty is the most solid foundation on which to build a relationship. If you're afraid of what your partner will think, ask yourself if you want to deal with that now or later. Deal with it now. The biggest problems she's dealt with is when it's clearly the fault of one member of the relationship and the other desperately wants to fix the issue. Like in the first instance, she told me of a couple where she understood that the wife wanted out, but didn't want to directly confront her husband about it, while the husband thought the issue was just a minor problem. Turns out the wife had to actually cheat in order for the husband to realize how serious things were, which led to him ending up on antidepressants and contemplating self-unalive. From what she told me, that one ended in an acrimonious divorce. But she never told me what became of either party. Something she emphasizes is that people are often blind to the red flags that a therapist can spot right away. Such is the nature of being a trained professional. It's why she recommends people see a counselor even if they don't think their issues are that deep. It's not shameful to ask for help, she always says. Yes, I absolutely agree that counseling or therapy can help in almost every situation. However, not everybody has that kind of money. If they did, I would encourage them to do it. But in like 98% of countries in the world, therapy is not covered by any sort of universal health care. So, best of luck. Story 8. Not my client, but I had to watch as my own roommate dealt with her fiancé. He was controlling her, physically, activities, financials, continuously dismissing her feelings, assessments, or opinions. Fiancé would revert to baby talk, speaking to roommate like she was an uneducated child, daddy knows best type of gaslighting garbage. trying to hide his narcissistic tendencies behind his good church boy exterior. This was all happening in my condo while she was waiting to move out and marry him. I usually try to stay out of their issues, but one afternoon I softly encouraged her, saying I agreed with her regarding an argument I'd witnessed earlier in the day. She came back that night after the fiancé convinced her that I was jealous and was trying to break them up so I could have him. She barely talked to me again until she moved out. Sadly, they did get married, have 2 kids, and she's a completely isolated stay-at-home mom. I don't even want to imagine what it's like for her at home. Story 9. Constant, needless escalation. When, I don't think we need this expensive thing, is escalated to, you don't really love me, major problem. It shows up quickly in therapy if you're watching for it. Mostly because the one using this to avoid accountability is almost guaranteed to play this card in relation to therapy itself. Either, I had to drag them here, or, they're just trying to break up with me. What they're doing is avoiding conversation about the issue by blowing it up into a bigger problem than it is, so they can make the other person respond to their feelings rather than dealing with their concerns. Story 10. Obligatory, not a therapist, but my own experience in therapy. My wife and I, separated now, went to couples counseling where it was a husband-wife counseling team. I thought that would be great, since it may help us open up more having a member of both sexes there. My wife was hesitant about couples counseling, but agreed to try it. We had our initial session together and it was cold and difficult, as expected. And my wife said she still wanted to leave, but they convinced her to try a few more sessions to see if anything clicked as we opened up. We had an individual session the next time, and I thought it went fantastically. I gained a completely different understanding of intimacy, not frisky but emotional and relational, and I was jazzed to start working and putting it into practice. My wife came out with tear stains and sat in her car crying before she finally left for home. We drove separately because she was coming from work and I from home. Our next appointment was another individual session again. The male counselor and I were talking again, and he started digging into my expectations and desires in the relationship, what I loved about wife, etc. He point blank asked me, do you feel wife is a good match for you in life and that you want to continue this relationship? And I was a little off put, but figured, yeah, it's probably a good thing to establish that right off the bat. So I answered emphatically, yes. And he just looked heartbroken and so very sad. I knew pretty well right then that we were toast. Wife admitted her affair the day before our next session and left. That is rough, buddy. But I feel like the big thing here is that it's a positive, right? The wife clearly wanted out, and OP didn't. But unfortunately, it takes 2 to tango, so OP finally figured out that it would be best to just move on. So I hope they've managed to deal with that all right. Story 11. My mom is a therapist, and she sometimes tells me a little bit about her cases, nothing specific or identifying. She once came home really upset about a case and told me a little bit. Basically, this guy sent his wife in because she was having trouble with the baby. He came with her and interrupted her at basically every turn and basically told my mom his wife was bipolar. In another session, the patient admitted that she almost felt angry with the baby, and herself because she knew that she would be a terrible mother. Her husband had been saying it since she got pregnant. My mom told me it became almost instantly clear that the husband was manipulative and abusive, and was probably trying to stop her from connecting with the child. As soon as my mom suggested she was angry with her husband and not her baby, all of their future sessions were canceled. I really hope them being canceled was a good thing because she figured it out, not a bad thing because he was like, oh, that's ridiculous, we're stopping this right now. Also, when I hear about manipulation like this, I feel like I just don't get it at all. How can someone do that on purpose to someone? Are people really that Machiavellian? I find it unfathomable, but I guess people kind of suck, so yeah. Story 12. My most favorite exercise in couples counseling is to have them listen to 45 seconds to 1 minute of instrumental music. Think Greensleeves or something like that. Music that people don't usually listen to. Then I ask person A to tell person B what they imagined while they were listening to the music. Then person B shares the same. Then we listen to the same music again, but I ask person A to try and see what person B and vice versa imagined, and pay attention to what they think/feel when they do that. Interesting dynamics come up almost immediately. I'll share my own personal story here from when my own couples therapist did this with an ex and I. Me. Oh, I imagine myself wearing a long, billowing green dress, walking through a green valley. Think Scotland or Ireland. A remote castle was at the top of the hill, and my scarf was flying in the wind. There was a gentle, bubbly stream somewhere there, too. Him. I imagine myself on a cliff with the ocean waves crashing violently on the rocks. There was a storm with lightning and thunder. I was cold. Awesome therapist. Credit where credit is due. He was awesome. Okay, let's do that again, but try to see if you can visualize what the other person imagined, okay? Music clip played again. Me, inner thoughts. Okay, so the cliff. Yeah, I can see that, but come on now. A storm and violent waves? No way. Bubbly stream is so clear here. Okay. So waves and what else did he say again? Cold? That's so stupid. It's a nice warm day, maybe a bit windy, but if it evoked cold, I would have never imagined myself in a dress. Wait, I'm supposed to be imagining his scenario. It just didn't fit. Why did he... when will this be over? Therapist. Okay, so tell me how that went. Him. I tried, I really did, but I started visualizing her scene and it was so off. I mean, I'll give her the green and all, but... Me. Why do you always invalidate what I perceive? Never mind that I had just done the same in my head with him, by the way. So, anyone want to analyze the twisted dynamics that were at play during our whole relationship there? I laugh gently while I tell you guys this, but they were very clear from the outside and very confusing and combative from the inside. And in my honest opinion, and sometimes not so humble, all therapists should experience couples counseling. Not only did it change the way I practiced it myself, but it literally changed the way I built future relationships. And yes, this is a glowing endorsement for that part of therapy, that I choose not to practice a lot. If one is ever on the fence about going to couples counseling, know that while it might not save this relationship, it will save you in subsequent ones. It will give you the tools to communicate with other partners in the future, or will give you insight in how you love and relate to others in ways individual counseling sometimes doesn't. Anyway, I adopted this exercise into my repertoire and am continually amazed at how revealing it is. Big red flag when we do this. Person J has trouble expressing what they visualized. Person K has zero trouble. Then Person J reports that they can 100% see what Person K visualized, and Person K is very critical of Person J's experience or heavily indulgent. Symbiotic relationships, codependency, narcissism, and abuse are things I immediately screen for if this is the result. Finally, don't go to couples counseling if your partner is abusive. It doesn't work. It won't work. You will give the other person the tools and language to make you feel even worse. And there will be heavy retaliations at home if you reveal the truth. Not worth it. Go by yourself if you know or suspect abusive markers in your relationship. Story 13. I'm an MFT, marriage and family therapist. And for me, an unofficial litmus test is when I ask at some point in the first few sessions how the couple met. If there's absolutely no positive affect from either person, like no one cracks a smile or they just give me a single sentence answer, we met at a party, that's usually a signal they've been so unhappy for so long, or the conflict is so overwhelming that they can't access those good memories. I partly wanted to do this job because I'm a romantic at heart and love hearing real love stories. And for the most part, hearing about their first few months together is an actually fun and illuminating part of therapy. I've only seen the flat or no affect couples a few times, and it breaks my heart every time. I remember learning in grad school that most couples who come in for therapy have lived unhappily for an average of 7 years before trying to get help. They come for that first session, and if they aren't cured after that, most think that therapy doesn't work and don't come back. To anyone who might be considering individual or couples therapy as a result of this thread, go for it. And be prepared for it to take some time and energy from you and your therapist. Story 14. I don't focus on couples counseling, but I do have some couples therapy sessions from time to time. If you are in a relationship, some advice that will help you out. You will typically find yourselves in one of 3 metaphorical positions. 1. Face to face. When you are here, you are feeding into each other, building each other up and communicating. 2. Side by side. This is when you are both working together on a problem to find a solution. It's not forcing one to do all the work, but you are both taking responsibility. 3. Back to back. This is the position you never want to be in, because you take your focus off each other and you go in your own directions. You either end up with one person pulling the other or a gap is formed. This position also says, I don't care about your input. If I get a couple in position 3 and they refuse to move to position 2 or 1, that is a pretty big indicator the relationship will fail.